In the previous scam awareness video, we looked at what I think most people agreed was a really quite obvious scam. And that was one of the reasons I picked it, because it had many of the red flag attributes of scams in one convenient place. Today, I think we'll look at a few examples that, whilst I'm still absolutely certain they're scams, are, I think, a little bit less obvious than that weird robot puppy thing. Here's an ad for Starlink satellite internet, except it's not. Now, whatever you may think about Starlink itself is not the point here, because this is a scam that's masquerading as Starlink. It appears to be offering two different deals, one that is £47 a year, and the other which promises lifetime internet access for a single one-off payment of £97. Obviously that sounds like a terrific deal, but Starlink doesn't offer any such deal. There are packages where you can pay for the equipment as a one-off cost, but there is no Starlink package where the ongoing connectivity isn't a subscription. The link goes not to starlink.com, but to starxminilinkuk.shop. Immediate red flag, obviously, and there are other little weird tells in this ad image, such as this cut-off text here, and the bullet point features on the £47 annual plan actually being negatives. But anyway, let's take a look. It goes to a web page that, as I mentioned, is not the right domain. But domain names are hidden by some mobile browsers, and also I think not everyone pays very much attention to domain names these days, at least not as much as they used to, when it was more common for people to type website domains into the address bar as an important way of navigating the web. The blurb on the page seemed sort of weird to me, but it turns out that connectivity where you least expect it is a slogan that Starlink has actually used. Just seemed a bit awkward, might be me. But the promises on the page are the scam. Pay only the setup fee, enjoy unlimited internet access and get your discount and lifetime plan. Scrolling down, quelle surprise, there's a countdown timer and golly gosh, there's only an hour and a half left before the deal expires. Oh no, the urgencies. Anyway, the FAQ at the bottom of the page is really just kind of silly. For the question, how long will the offer last? The answer is, this is a one-time offer and there won't be another like it. It was designed specifically for this launch and it will not be repeated. Once it's over for good. We don't work with recurring promotions and we don't extend deadlines. If you're seeing this now, it means you still have a chance. But once the campaign closes or stock runs out, the opportunity is gone permanently. Laying that urgency on a little bit thick there, don't you think? The redeem offer button goes directly to a payment page with no shopping cart. I'm not test purchasing this or any of the scams in this video, even though people strenuously argued that I should in the last one. The range of possible outcomes is highly predictable and not all that interesting. This video is about trying to recognise the scams without buying them and without getting scammed. So yeah, no test purchases. And so in the case of this Starlink deal, I can only speculate what you might receive if you went through with this, except it's not speculation to say it definitely would not be a lifetime Starlink deal. Most likely they send nothing and just disappear with your money, or they send some other thing, like a dropship trinket to create tracking data, or maybe they send you one of those cheap portable Wi-Fi hotspots in the hope that you'll waste enough time trying to connect it to Starlink that your refund claim window will expire. Next, a type of scam that pops up quite often, with minor variations on social media ads, a story about an artisan business going broke or shutting down. This time, it is with a heavy heart that we share this message with you. After many years of love and dedication to our boutique, Charlotte and I have made the decision to close it down. It has been a difficult but inevitable choice. In recent times, we've constantly struggled to keep up with large corporations with vast budgets which continue to push small, family-run businesses like ours to the margins. Unfortunately, it's no longer financially sustainable to continue. But there is also a deeply personal reason behind this step. We recently became grandparents, a truly special moment that reminded us of what really matters in life. Our grandchildren are our greatest joy, and we wish to devote all our time and love to them. This boutique has been our life's work for many years, and saying goodbye is not easy, yet we feel that now is the right time to start a new chapter, the chapter of family. To mark the end of the journey, we're holding a massive closing down sale. Everything from our most loved garments to our iconic accessories is heavily discounted. It's our way of saying thank you and giving you the chance to take a piece of our story home with you. Perhaps the big companies will have won the battle, but we walk away with our heads held high because it's only thanks to you, our loyal customers, that we were able to do this job with such passion for so long. For that, we will always be grateful. With love, William and Charlotte. Well, tugs on the old heartstrings, doesn't it? Well, it's supposed to. It's designed to. One thing to note about these scams is they're always written in the style of a social media post, thanking friends and loyal customers and whatnot, but one thing I can absolutely guarantee is that whoever you are, you've never heard of them before this point. We'll come back to that theme a little later in the video. Let's check out the site. It goes to the most generic-looking clothing store where, consistent with their fake story, everything is presented as being highly discounted. Looking at the About page, yeah, this whole thing is AI generated. This image apparently showing grandfather, father and son, complete with a tape measure that makes no sense at all. And every bit of text on this page reeks of ChatGPT, full of flowery prose, irrelevant simile and triplets. For example, Dante Savoy is not just a menswear store, it's a family story, a sense of style, and a legacy lived through continuity. Despite the claims that this business has been running for many years under the love and guidance of William and Charlotte, hey, wait a minute, where's Charlotte in that picture on the About page? Anyway, as I was saying, despite this long-standing business being the dream of this variously described family team, there's no evidence of this website existing prior to the 1st of May 2025. That is, about 2 weeks prior to this ad saying they're closing down. Probably shouldn't have paid for 3 years domain registration, guys. There are the usual FOMO-inducing triggers on the product pages. The offer ends today. And I have been checking, and I can see it's been ending today for over a month at the time of writing this script. And there's this thing about limited stock and how lucky you are if the items are still clickable, so act now. Now, even the product images on the main site are not real. For example, there's this range of shirts where the shirt itself, down to every little crease in the fabric, is the same shirt, just rendered in a range of different patterns, and the patterns don't even warp with the fabric. They're just sort of slapped on top. Also, the product title here is Elegant Shirt with Practical Bag. Do they mean a baggy shirt? Because I don't see a bag. Now, you might be about to point out that it's not unheard of for real web shops to use shortcuts like this for their product imagery, and that's true. But let's just stop for a moment and juxtapose these shoddy, bulk-created product shots with the claim they made back on that About page. Specifically, every blazer, every shirt, every fabric that enters Dante Savoy is hand-selected with the same care we would show when dressing a family member. Doesn't quite line up, does it? If you buy the stuff on here, you might actually get some cheap sweatshop-produced dropship garment that does or does not superficially resemble the item you clicked on. But even the discounted prices are probably hiked. But the main scammy part of all of this is not the crummy web shop, it's the fake backstory that's supposed to make you act on sympathy. As I say, these closing down sale story scams are common. We'll take a look at some more in just a moment. Here's a vertical video ad for a bit of quackery. Let's just watch that.
This black gunk is why your neuropathy won't go away. Okay, this might look gross, but trust me, you need to see this. These patches draw out toxins and improve circulation through your feet while you sleep. I was dealing with constant neuropathy pain for years. Nothing worked until I tried these. They're based on ancient Asian medicine, but made with modern technology. Look how dark they get. That's all stuff that was causing my nerve pain. 10 days in, and I felt like a new person. If you're tired of the pain, you need to try these.
So these are self-adhesive pads that you stick on the underside of your feet at bedtime, and they supposedly draw toxins out of your body while you sleep. And look, you can see it works because look at all the black toxins on the pad when you peel it off. This is a scam, pure snake oil, like nearly all miracle cures that talk about removing toxins from your body. These things contain chemicals that change colour in contact with moisture. Ordinary sweat from your feet is all they need to turn black. Toxins simply aren't part of the picture. In fact, these pads would turn black if you stuck them on a watermelon overnight. The pads have actually been thoroughly tested and there's no evidence that they do anything useful, and indeed these things were banned by the FTC in the USA. But wait, what's this? We're closing our leather bag workshop. Oh no, not another Artisan I've never heard of going out of business. This is James Andrew. He's closing his leather bag store because unfortunately he doesn't exist. Wait, no, that's not the reason he said. In fact, there's nothing on the website about it closing down at all. Only this fake picture of a kindly looking old man and this fake story about how James, who can't decide whether to refer to himself in the first or third person, handcrafts every one of these bags himself in his small workshop. Nice array of weird, unrecognisable tools on the back wall there. I've always wondered why making fine, handcrafted leather items requires the use of a massive wooden spade. There is, of course, urgency, only a few pieces left. Claim your masterpiece now. And each of the approximately 100 different bags and other items on the website does only seem to have 3, 5 or 7 or so pieces left. One might wonder how James can possibly have found the time to single-handedly make approximately 500 of these different handcrafted bags, if one was the wondering type. There are, of course, glowing testimonials from a bunch of completely believable and different people who all happen to write very similar-sounding, gushy, single paragraphs, all mentioning James Andrew by his full name. I did a reverse image search on some of the items in this store, and they turned up in a variety of different places, although a lot of the links were to items that have since been removed. Anyway, this is probably just a front for some cheap drop-shipping operation, so you'd probably get a bag of some sort. But it's still pretty scammy, because the whole story about it being handcrafted by this kindly old AI-generated grandad is a lie. as is the hook in the ad about the store closing down. Side note, despite the store apparently being in a state of closing down, the FAQ does still offer bespoke creation of bags, so I couldn't resist asking, "Dear James, I was thrilled to discover your amazing leather workshop and a little sad to hear that you might close it down. I wonder if there's time for me to order a bespoke item. The FAQ on your webpage does say this is a possibility. I've always dreamed of owning a large leather bag in the shape of a bull elephant, with decorative tusks made from lightweight cast bronze. The bag should have a realistic texture and colour, and also I need to be able to wear it like a pair of gloves or a friendly hat. Is this something you can make? It would be a dream come true if you could do this. P.S. The bag needs pneumatic wheels on the feet. The front pair can just be casters, but the rear ones should be powered." I got a response, but it was just an automated one, and there was no further follow-up. I'm not expecting any answer, but this was really just a test to see if they said yes. I think actually that thing about bespoke orders is just there as a bit of scenery to make the whole thing seem more real. Oh, one more thing. Again, this site that is supposedly closing down after a long and happy life hasn't existed for long. That's why you've never heard of James Andrew, even though I'm sure those names are familiar. According to the Wayback Machine, not very long ago, this website used to be just someone's personal blog. Next, this ad, which looks to be a straightforward one for Parkside Tools. If you shop at Lidl, you'll be familiar with this brand. The manufacturer does sell spare parts online, I think, but the tools themselves are, to the best of my knowledge, only sold as whole tools through Lidl. At least that's all I could find from where I'm sitting. So I was a little bit surprised to see a link to what appears to be a web shop, but it says sponsored Parkside, so it must be legit, right? Wrong. This is a scam. The link actually goes to a fake Parkside webpage called pixatrezzi.shop. But again, who looks at domain names these days? And is everyone who even looks going to know for sure that this isn't some domain that the actual company spun up? The whole site looks reasonably convincing. They've scraped a lot of genuine images and text from Parkside's own website, including pics of Arnie, who's been featuring in some of their ads. The product pages look fairly reasonable, with not many of the common red flags in evidence. I can see why people might not think this is a scam, but it definitely is. Let's look at some of the more subtle indicators. There's this Trustpilot rating on the page here, supposedly claiming a trust rating of 4.9 based on 31,000 reviews. Impressive, right? Well, not really. So for one thing, I would normally expect a little rating badge like this to be an active object, so it would update itself as the stats evolve, but more importantly so you can click through to Trustpilot to see the actual reviews behind it. This is just a static, unlinked image though. So when we go the long way around to Trustpilot and look at the reviews for this website, pixatrezzi.shop, we find it's actually got a trust rating of 2.8, and all of the reviews are 1-star complaints. Now, Trustpilot has its own faults and failings, which I'm not going deep into, but for one, I'm not sure how a bunch of 1-star reviews managed to average out to even a 2.8 rating. Maybe there were some shill reviews there at the start, but if they're deleted, then the rating should have been recalculated. But regardless, this one thing, the lie on the webpage about a high rating and the actually very poor rating, together with this weird off-brand domain name, is enough to conclude this is a scam. Oh, and there are also these other little badges here that are completely meaningless in terms of any actual guarantees or accreditations. I hope you agree, though, that this one was not especially overt or obvious. When I tried to visit this site a week or two later, it was gone, and the Trustpilot review page is now locked, so that confirms what I already expected. I imagine the brand intervened here to get this shut down quickly. Finally, all of the Artisan jewellery stores are closing down, after 21 years, which is apparently nearly 3 decades. What are the chances that all of these different jewellery stores you've never heard of are all closing down for very similar reasons, all at once? And they would all look sort of similar, including AI-generated pictures of a kindly faced proprietor. And they are AI-generated. They've got the right number of fingers, but we're not quite yet at the level where you can't tell. There's not much more to say about these, as we've already looked at a few of them. And they are all very similar. Whether you want to call these a scam or a con is a matter of semantics. They're based on lies, and you won't get exactly what they say they're selling you, and it certainly won't be precious. So if anything at all, I think they're actually really both. A scam based on an ad that's a con. One last thing that might be a coincidence, but I suspect a deliberate pattern. Look at the names of all of these closing down scams. Andrew, James, Claire, Clara Rose, William and Charlotte, Henry, Maya, Diane. These are all very familiar given names. If you're about my age and live in England, you perhaps already know people with most of these names, and I don't think this is accidental. These ads are designed for social media, and they tell a sad story about a person thanking their friends for their kind support as they close down their family business. Of course, in the cold light of day, I know that I don't know these supposed people, but the way these ads are profiled, including the names they chose, is, I think, designed to make them appear as though, or feel like, they're also inside your social circle, and thus bypass that bit of caution that might otherwise have been triggered. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I think this is part of a purposeful bit of psychological manipulation. Anyway, that's all of the fresh scams I've got for today, and I hope you agree that some of these were at least slightly less obvious than that robot dog thing we looked at last time. So before we go, let's just ponder why those more obvious scams even exist. One hypothesis is that the robot dog scam was targeting kids. It's kind of curious that the product page gave very clear, maybe child-friendly instructions on how to type daddy's credit card details into the payment screen. So maybe it's that, maybe it's something else. And one thing I think is always important to ask yourself is this thing really what it appears to be? And that applies not only to the scam itself. For example, the answer to is this cat-faced flower scam is pretty obvious. Yes, it's a scam. It's not really what it appears to be because there are no plants with flowers that look exactly like kitten heads. But there's another layer to that question. Is this scam what it appears to be? Is this ad for kitten-faced flowers actually an ad targeting people who will believe it at face value? I mean, maybe a little bit, but what if it's something else that's less obvious? What if it's actually intended to just attract curious traffic to the website? All those clicks from people thinking, wow, this is an obvious scam, who would even fall for this? And then click through out of morbid curiosity, amusement, boredom, or so that they could take a screenshot to share and deride it on their socials. All of those clicks boost the search engine ranking of the target website in exactly the same way as would any other clicks. Or what if it's something else I can't imagine? As someone wisely said in the comments on another video just recently, that's why hubris is dangerous with scams. Your overconfidence that you know how to spot a scam stops you from being vigilant and realizing that perhaps the obvious scam isn't the real scam. There's also this thing called the Overton window that you've probably heard people talk about recently, maybe endlessly in other contexts. But something similar applies here, either accidentally or on purpose. All of those really obvious scams will tend to shift the window of discourse so that everyone's expectation is that scams are obvious and easily avoided. Now, it might be a little bit far-fetched to imagine that the scammers are doing that on purpose in order to be able to conduct more subtle scams with greater success. But even if they're not doing it on purpose, that window shifts for you if you think all scams are very obvious and silly, and that puts you at risk. Pride goeth before destruction, and all that. Anyway, I hope this has been interesting or useful. Thanks for watching, stay safe from scams, and I hope to see you again soon.